everybody. Welcome to the Authentic Happiness Show. Tonight we have a cool show. We're going to be talking about the importance of having a judgment-free mindset, and going to talk about like the devil's advocate to it too. So like we're just going to go all around it because we branded this show, we branded this podcast as a judgment-free, safe place where people can come if they want to hear professional mental health and heart-centered life coaching tips and anything else that we want to talk about. So it's a safe place. So that's why I wanted to touch on that, because of the things that everybody's going through, in the world. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce somebody that we have had on the show one time, but she's going to be joining us a lot more often. She's a life coach that I'm collaborating with, and we're going to do some really cool stuff together. So this is my friend Jennifer Braden. Hi, Jen.
Hello.
And here comes Enzo and Jara.
Hello.
Jara. I'm Jara. Hi, guys. Jara. Hi, guys. Oh, Susie and Jen, I have to tell you real fast before I forget. Our belly dancing teacher reached out to me and said that class will be on Monday at the regular time at the store.
Oh, nice. Okay, that'll be. Enzo's probably like,
no,
great.
Are you going to join us? Our belly dancing class?
I'll just watch from here. It'll be, you guys are doing great.
He's awesome. He always has the right prop, like always.
He does always have the right props. It is so much fun, this class. It's really good for us too, because I don't know if you guys have ever heard about somatic healing, but that's when so trauma is stored in your cells and in your body, and the way to get it out is movement. So this has been really good. It's just really healthy for us all the way around. I've been having a great time. I love it. Yeah. I love dance.
Same.
It really is fun. And wearing the little, I don't know what you call it.
I know.
The chinger. I call it a chinger.
Right.
Yeah.
If I didn't annoy my husband enough before, I'm pretty sure I for sure got it from now.
Right? I know. I can't wait to get the finger things.
Oh, God, to add another layer.
Kind of an important topic for me, because as coaches, it's really important for us to be able to hold space for people and meet them where they're at. So for anybody that doesn't know what that really means, because people just kind of throw that around, that phrase, it's holding space for people this is what it says in the books. Okay, so holding space is the practice of being fully present, compassionate, and supportive without judgment, and allowing them to do or say what they need to. So that's really important when you're coaching somebody, and it's really important all the time. If you're talking to somebody, you should hold the space and be present, So meeting people where they are, that is when you are seeking to understand what they're saying, and when you're really listening to learn more about them, to see how you can how you can help them effectively, how you can coach them effectively, or it's just a really good, effective way to listen to people. So being able to do that creates a really safe place for people, and people need that. There's a lot of people that go their whole lives without having a safe space to be themselves, and that's really bad. So that's why this is important for me. So that's why I wanted to have this show, because I was listening to you and Jara have your big old conversation the other night, and I was like, this is a really good topic. We should talk about this stuff on the show, because these are things people don't touch on because they have emotions involved, or they might touch a feeling. So these are things that we should make it okay to talk about.
Yeah, it is kind of weird how humans don't really they pretend like they don't have emotion. It's kind of weird. I don't know why people do that.
I know, somewhere along the way it got a bad rap.
Right, but it's like part of being human. It's like peeing and pooping. It's like that.
Right.
Like emotions are like.
It's not only just part of being human. It's the whole reason that you are human. It's to feel those emotions. So
I mean, could you imagine every time you had to go to the bathroom, if you acted like the way people run away from their emotions, if they ran away from going poop, the way that they run away from emotion, if they'd be, like, oh no,
No,
like.
The example is actually pretty apt, because if you ignore it, eventually it's going to well up and kind of explode after a fact.
Exactly. Yes, indeed. So
But-
yeah,
you guys made me want to sing that song.
What? Oh yeah.
When your pants are full of
Cha
foam.
cha cha. Yeah. Yeah, we had a song about that when we were young. You guys don't know the song? They don't know the song, Susie.
You guys
We'll
don't
have to
know
tell you later. The diarrhea song?
Yeah, it's
No.
a diarrhea
Oh,
song.
they don't know it.
Yeah, but we had a lot
I
of
guess-
good stuff.
I guess we're just weird. Maybe that's a Flagstaff thing.
I missed the poo poo pee pee
it might
mixtape, I guess.
Yeah, it's like when you're sliding into home and your pants are full of foam, diarrhea. Like,
Diarrhea.
yeah, and there
Diarrhea.
were a million different things. Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of
So
them.
anyway, we were immature, obviously, as children.
Yeah, a great way to
We
start.
still
the
think
show.
it's funny.
Right.
Don't judge us.
But no,
No judgment.
no judgment.
No judgment.
But no, people, they run away from emotion, and it's very uncomfortable to talk about. So that's why a lot of people, they can't hold space for their own emotions. I think so. They also have a hard time holding it for anybody else, because other people's emotions makes them remember that they have them too, and they get scared or just irritated or whatever.
But I think an important, like,
No,
go ahead. Okay,
No, you
about the whole emotions is it just kind of ends there when people say, oh, it's important to feel your emotions, which of course I agree, but then what? That's the issue that I take with is people want to sit there and, they feel their emotions and they want to use it then as a crutch to stay in victim mentality, which is the most disempowering thing, as opposed to, you need to feel the emotion. We need to observe, oh, I'm feeling an emotion, but for the purpose to identify and integrate, so you no longer are where you're at, which is causing, the pain in your life. And so I think it's really important to, and that's the issue, like when Jara and I were talking about, oh, you need to be compassionate, and I don't disagree, but there also needs to be truth and a little bit of tough love, because victim mentality gets you to spiral and circle the drain down, and people end up arguing for their limitations and making excuses for their behaviors or why they, but where I like to butt you up the other way. Yeah, but still you can. See the difference? So,
Yeah, but
I really, especially with today's, I'm just done with victim mentality. Yeah, there needs to be compassion, and you need to understand and feel those emotions for what?
Well, I think it's important.
Or what are we going to do? Right? What decisions are we going to make to up level our life?
And I think before you even do that, though, if you feel an emotion and it's bothering you or whatever, you need to ask yourself why you're feeling that way.
Well, right. That's
because a lot of people don't know that it's something in them. They think it's being caused by the other person or by an outside thing, but it might actually be an outside thing that's triggering something inside of them. So it's not the person. It would be anybody that did that thing, because it would trigger them. So I try, for me, like with myself, I try to understand myself before I try to understand the other person, which is hard to do and it takes practice.
right.
But because I'm the only thing I can really, truly ever fully understand completely is me.
right. That's to touch upon Abraham Hicks, right? The emotion, right, is nothing more than a GPS, if you will. I mean, your emotion is the first manifestation for that patterning, that belief system, that thought that you have going on in your subconscious first. So again, that's why it's important to identify and feel your emotions, for the purpose to identify, to get in there. What's going on in me? Just get curious. Don't get down on yourself for feeling fearful or sad. Get curious, right? Oh, this is interesting. I'm feeling this way. What must this mean that I was thinking in order to generate this emotion I'm now feeling? See, it's for the purpose of discovery, so we can get to a solution, not to ruminate and be in victim mentality and circle the drain.
Right.
That's my issue. But people don't know that. They just want to hide. Oh, but I feel. Okay.
Can I ask why you think that? Do you feel that way about most people, or just like people that you come into contact with?
Well, I'm just thinking like a general statement of fact that's in fact what an emotion is. It's a manifestation of the beliefs, the thoughts that you have going on first. So doesn't necessarily have to be with people, unless you're wanting me to give like a specific example of somebody who's
I think she meant like about the victim mentality part.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
You know, people want to, that the
So
emotion.
there's two ways you can go about it. When you get triggered, that's supposed to tell you exactly what needs to be healed. Anything that triggers you, go tomorrow. I want everybody tomorrow to notice when they're triggered and notice what it's about, and then look a little deeper and see where that is on you somehow. Why are you being triggered by that, and what needs to be healed around that? So there's two ways you can do things when you get triggered. You can be like, oh, me, like this happened to me, and they're doing this to me. Or you can do what I just said and look at what's triggering you and heal it it's way better to heal it. Trust me.
Right.
But I want to know, like, I don't know if Jara was asking this or not, but I'm thinking maybe like, what you guys, how can you tell when somebody's like being in victim mentality mode, or when they're really
trying
hurt?
to look at themselves? I think, well, Jen said it. I think one of the ways that you can tell is when you can tell when somebody starts to get into a pattern of, and everybody does this. I've been like this for like a lot. I think I'm just now, like, Susie's helped me learn to not be like this. But when things happen to you, you can get to where you just are focused on that. And you can be complaining about your situation to somebody. And how I know somebody's in a pattern of doing that is when I try to give them solutions, and no matter what I say, they just give me back the problem again.
Right.
Yep. And I'm like, well, okay, so do you want to, we can sit here and continue to talk about how bad everything sucks forever and nothing going to change. So like, you gotta, but sometimes, it takes people like, sometimes people have to feel really bad for a long time, and they have to get so tired of feeling like that getting out of that mindset is less painful than staying in it. And sometimes it takes a long time.
Yeah, that sucks when it takes that long.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to be that way. Like that's, you could just feel better sooner if you just take a look at yourself,
Yeah.
But the way that I think the thing that helped me look at it differently was when I realized that I was going to be the one that did the best for me all the time. Me. Like, I couldn't count on anybody else to change or treat me how I wanted to be treated. I have to treat myself how I want to be treated. And that I had to count on, like, me, like, be my own thing that I can count on, so that
have
I
your
didn't.
Own back, yourself.
Yeah, have my own back.
Like, I don't know.
Have everything's my fault. Yeah, and try to make everything as much as you can your fault, because if it's your fault, you can fix it, you can change it, you have control over that.
Yeah.
Right? If somebody else is doing something to you and you don't have any control over that, if you actually feel that way, if you feel like somebody else is in control of your decisions or your life for some reason, then that sucks, and you don't have control over anything, and that's a terrifying feeling. So I'd rather take responsibility and then be able to fix it.
Like, when you're blaming everything on everybody else, it takes away all your power. You're really giving your power away, because then you don't, if you blame it on somebody else, there's nothing you can do about it. But if you own it, then you can do everything with it. That gives you all the power in the world to make change. So That's pretty important. I hate blame. I think blame serves no one. It serves no one. I really don't think it serves anyone.
I do feel like if something tragic or something like that has happened, that you should maybe give them a little time, kind of thing, to kind of wrap their head around it, kind of deal with it.
Yeah, sure.
But everyone's a little different for how they do that. Like for me, I have a pretty small window about it, and then it's going to turn into tough love pretty quick. It's like, yeah, can you control it? Then deal with it. Oh, you can't? Suck it up and move on. It's some people just can't do it. And as Jennifer said, that they notice they're getting more attention if they can kind of draw people in to feel sorry for them or feel bad for them and things like that, which gets them that attention that they may crave by being that victim. And we got to get away from that. You got to get away from that fast, because that's going to wear on all your friends and your family, where they're going to just like, get away from Debbie Downer here. I can't take it anymore.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think it's kind of like how some people, how kids, they say sometimes want negative attention is better than no attention. I think some people are like that too.
No. Not in today's world.
I think some people don't know.
True, but when you can put out onto the internet to the whole world that you're feeling sad still for a long period of time, the whole world is going to let you know that time is now over, kind of a thing, right? And they're not, anonymous zero names are going to show up in your feed to tell you that you're messing up, and will not be as kind as your close friends that you've now alienated because you've bothered them.
Right.
So.
Right.
Well, it becomes frustrating too when, there was a quote that I love, and it says, you cannot help somebody who's not willing to participate in their own rescue. That's my frustration. I can have all the compassion in the world, but you gotta help me help you.
Right.
Because I'm not gonna sit there and circle the drain with you. And yeah, you're right. Because then curl up in a ball and die. Is that what you want, or are you find solutions?
Well, at that point, I would just cut the dead weight. If I'm trying to save you and we got to run and you're laying on the ground, I am not dragging your ass. Sorry. I'm gonna leave you here.
Trying to save someone that's drowning. If you remain calm, let me do the work, just relax. If they're going to go climb, you're trying to crawl on top of you, thinking that's not going to magically be above the water, and they're just drowning. You're going to go down with them. So,
right.
How do you
in some
deliver
cases,
that
Jen,
message to someone,
it might be you punch them in the nose. Jen, that might be what you do. Like in that movie, what is it? River Runs Wild or whatever, or River Wild, where Kevin Bacon takes that family hostage, and the guy can't swim or whatever, and so the dad jumps in to rescue him, and he's all doing what you just said. He's all grabbing on him, and he just punches him right in the face. So I see what you mean by that, Jen, when you say sometimes you have to be aggressive and just be like, duh.
And I'm really good at that. Yeah, that's not a problem for me to give that out, because otherwise then it affects your energy, right? And you can't have anything affecting your well-being. I've had to distance myself from friends in the past because of that. The energy was so depleting and so toxic that, hey, I've tried, I've done everything. I can't, I'm like,
you're an emotional vampire at that point.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah, that's exactly 100%. So, that's where it's like, okay, well, when you decide now would be a good time to participate in your own rescue, I'm here. But until then, I can't live your life for you. I can't make those decisions. And that is the key word. It comes down to a decision that you make with yourself. And it's one you got to make over and over, you have to choose yourself. Abraham, right? Alignment isn't just like a degree. Once you get it, it's forever yours. It's something that you have to be self-aware. So it's developing that skill set that keeps you able to be very present in the moment, very self-aware. So you can become self-accountable, right? Now you become control. I decide what thoughts I think, which then develop into, your behaviors. If they go unchecked. That's why, again, it's really important. You do not want to be operating in this world out of ignorance and a lack of self-love, which is the problem. That's why people, they don't know, and they don't know who they are.
Right. And that's the part I was saying, how everybody is kind of in the same boat, because I do believe that the world has not been taught how to be correctly. And
the whole world was taught wrong.
Yeah, we've all been taught way just weird. It's like so much weirdness, and there's so many things that have been distorted and not accurately told to us, and it's crazy. I think that I'm actually pretty proud of most of us that we're not completely psychotic, like, because we've really not been treated very well. Anybody that's like alive right now, that's a regular person.
That's difficult though, because everyone's a little different and how they deal with it, especially if it's something that happened a long time. Specifically, when I was telling you about some of my childhood adventures, you were on the verge of tears when I was talking about.
I was crying. I wasn't verging. I was actually, there were tears flowing. I was crying.
But that was something that I had dealt with a long time ago, so it didn't affect me that way. And I didn't think anything of sharing the story. I didn't think of you, where someone that had at least a better experience than me in that particular avenue would take that. So I didn't even consider it, because it was something I just kind of took for granted in my own life.
Right. And
but
it's
my family forgot my 16th birthday is what this was all about.
Oh, yeah. Candles.
Yeah.
I was the man.
Right.
Yeah. I just couldn't. Yeah. I had such a good childhood, and I don't know. I can't imagine that. I was like, my heart cries at things that like affect my soul. I can't help it. And my body just does that. I think that sometimes my soul grows and my body can't contain it. And so that's why I'm always got tears flowing, because it's my overflow.
Okay. It's actually a superpower, Jara. Some people can't even feel emotion. So that probably sucks too. So like,
I'm
it's
sure.
actually a superpower.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that would feel like.
Empathy has kind of been in short supply here lately. So that's a good thing.
Yes, it has. I know. And it's not really I want to say that it's not really anybody's fault that they're like that. It's kind of the way the world is that's turned everybody that way.
Right.
So I want to stick with the no judgment thing on those people that aren't in the same healing, like they're not on their healing journey yet, or they're not, or they don't realize that they don't feel emotions. I have compassion for them, and I don't hold it against them that they can't, because I know that they will someday, because that's really what life's all about. You're not going to get through it without feeling what you're supposed to feel while you're here. So like Enzo said something earlier about like controlling your emotions, or like, when it's time to get up off of that. And so like emotional control comes in this a big deal, because I never knew there was a such thing as emotional control until just recently, in the past like 6 years. So realize how much my emotions could affect other people when I learned about emotional control. So that's something people need to take into consideration too.
Right.
Having emotional control. It doesn't matter if it's anger or if it's sadness, or even if it's too happy or too much energy. You've got to like have balance and control.
I feel disappointed in myself if I lose my temper, or I let myself get like upset. I feel so disappointed in myself. Because I've learned how to have emotional control. Sometimes inside I'm like screaming, but you can't tell. But you can't tell on the outside. Sometimes I check myself a lot. I wonder if everybody does that. Like, do you guys do that? I check myself a lot on my thoughts. Like if I have a thought about, that's cool. That makes me feel like I have hope for society.
My fuse is about like that big for somebody that's just being overly stupid on something. It's like, I know you know how to do this. Why are you acting like you've never seen this before? That kind of thing.
That is my work. That's one of my biggest pet peeves, Enzo, when people do that. I can't, that really gets me fired up inside. I'm like, do not pretend like you've don't know how to do something, you know how
Oh yeah, that bothers me too. When people act like they don't understand what you're saying, but they do know what you're saying. It bothers me really bad.
Well, Jara, what you described is not only like what Suzanne said, it's a superpower, but the ability to, in that moment when you're feeling triggered, to sit with, even though it's uncomfortable, I'm going to sit with that emotion until I can get a hold on it. So I don't react. I want to respond.
Right.
And that takes self-awareness, so you can be in control. Hold that emotion and then get up here and say, ooh, this is interesting. Let me kind of process it so I can respond instead of react. And that's definitely an issue.
Right.
That's the biggest
for me,
difference
especially in these last 4 years, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you process it so that you can respond and not react. I've had times where I processed it and I was like, okay, maybe I wasn't right in that. Yeah. And so I didn't react. And I thought about it. And then I realized that maybe I wasn't like, if I would have said what I wanted to say in the moment, I would have regretted it later, because afterwards I would have thought about it and been like, oh wait, maybe I shouldn't. So it feels good when you can do that. And then it works out and you're like proud of yourself. Nobody else knows, but except for like, the invisible people that might see what's going on.
But your spirit guides.
But that's an example of self-mastery. Would you agree? I mean, that right there, the ability to just be able to hold
what self-mastery means.
Excellent. And you do that a lot, Jara. So that's really good. A lot of
I just learned how to start doing that. I didn't used to do that a lot. Susie helped me with that.
I didn't used to do it either. Yeah. I want to ask Enzo. Enzo, you're so balanced and like you're so in emotional control all the time.
I know.
Like, who taught you how to do that? Did you teach yourself?
I am an amazing actor is really the thing. I am losing on the inside. No. We've kind of been dancing around this, as awful as this is to even say, but as a kid, my family life was not great. And I feel that's usually like the basis and the foundation stones for where a lot of people have to start off is their family life before they get old enough to go on out on their own to college or, go out in the working, thing after high school, that kind of a thing. That's why back in the 90s, all those John Hughes films like, 16 Candles and all those other those teen movies were just wildly popular, is because everyone can relate to having the weird uncle and to having the crazy experience with the family that doesn't understand you and all of those things. But for myself, TV was that, and I was a big Star Trek nerd. So even though we've talked about hiding your emotions, I didn't go the Spock route as much. Scotty was always my guy, but being able to fix the Enterprise, know exactly what to do and save the day, I love that idea, that kind of thing.
Right.
The people that I admired were all TV characters and stuff like that, that I was to pattern myself after watching a Doctor Who episode. It's like, hey, a guy that's super smart and can deal with a problem without resorting to violence. I love this idea. He outsmarts the bad guys rather than go in guns a-blazing and stuff like that. I feel that's a pretty important lesson for any kid. That's why that show has been on for so many years. But it's it is very individual. For me personally, a lot of it was dealing with my own childhood traumas of a family that didn't care. So that as soon as I turned 18, I went stirring. Actually, at 17, I had them sign the paperwork to approve me to go into the Air Force at 17. So I could just it was an escape ramp for me, just to get away. And that's when I started learning by interacting with other people my own age that were doing the same thing, right out of high school into the military, that other people's families didn't act like mine. And I found it super weird and hard to adjust to that because, and even got, explaining to friends that my family was not that great. I don't want to go back home on vacation. I don't want to go home ever, kind of a thing. And we would get into fights about it, like almost to blows with one guy because you have to love your mother and you have to love your parents. Like, no, you don't know my parents. Yeah.
Right.
So it is very
Right.
individual, and that baseline I feel for everybody is whatever that home life was before go out on your own. That's your starting point. Some people had a great childhood and had a lot of great experience, so they're much higher on that scale of dealing with life and dealing with those curveballs that are thrown at you. Versus not so good. I'm not saying that I had the worst life in the world. Don't get me wrong. There were some good times, but it could have been better.
I think that you're just a great soul, man. You're a great soul, Enzo.
Yeah.
It's like there's not a lot of kids that would have. Well, there's a lot of kids that would have gone a different direction. You know, you didn't.
Oh, yeah.
You chose
Right.
wisely a lot.
It had a couple of specific points in my childhood gone differently. I'm sure I probably, would have gone some awful route and be working at some muffler shop right now, trying to make
Been a bank robber
with 100 different babies with different ladies all over the place.
I can't imagine you ever being like that ever. I can't imagine it. I can only imagine you being like gentleman. I could see you maybe working at a muffler shop if you wanted to work on mufflers, but you'd still have only like 30,000 miles on your car, and you'd still be very responsible, and you'd have one wife and
Here's a comparison for the time frame that I lived in upstate New York for 3 years, the first 3 years of high school, which are very formative years. And I was the new kid in a new school in a totally different part of the country. One of the kids that lived out, I say kid, we were in the same grade, lived down the street from me. Just for random things, like a couple of years ago, I looked up his name. It's like, whatever happened to that guy? Because he was always one of these characters like, hey, I'm the cool kid, kind of thing, like Ramon from Fast Times at Ridgemont High is what he always used to remind me of. Always trying to work out a deal and get the tickets to the game or whatever it is. So he's kind of friends with everybody, but he's kind of using everybody to get things for himself. That kind of person. Whatever happened to that guy? And I ended up finding his name in the newspaper for the same town that we lived in, Glens Falls, New York, where he had just got sentenced to jail for, I think it was 5 years, for impersonating an FBI officer, agent. He basically jumps into this woman's car and tells her, I'm with the FBI. I need you to drive me to this place right now. It's an emergency. There's terrorists and all this story. So basically it was kidnapping charges. It was a bunch of other stuff. He's just a nut.
Why did he do that? I wonder. Like, why would you tell somebody to drive you? Why wouldn't you just take the car?
He would always get in trouble, like as a kid, like when we were in high school, getting in trouble for this or that. And there were almost never repercussions. He would always come out smelling like a rose.
Right.
And he probably thought he could get away with it. And he did not.
Wow. That's crazy. See, I've just never been able to do anything like that. Even if I could get away with it, I would never even try to do something like that. There's always been something that's like, why would you do that? Like, I would never do something like that.
Yeah,
so I don't know.
Angel and the devil on the shoulders. His angel was hitting the snooze alarm quite a bit.
Right. He has had some tequila, his angel. It was funny. My husband was watching an old cartoon earlier, and it was this worm that crawled out of a bottle that said 110% alcohol on it. I was like, what in the world? And the worm was all kept hiccuping. It was all drunk. Old cartoons, man.
I think I remember that cartoon.
It sounds familiar. But in answer to your question, how did I turn out the way I did? It was from emulating other people that I would see it like on TV or in real life, once I got out away from home and had good role models to look at and emulating them the best I could. Because originally, like when I was younger, when I first went in, I had a really awful temper. I would go off at the drop of a hat, and I'm kind of a big guy, and that could be a problem. And it turned out to be a problem a couple times, but never enough to get thrown in jail or anything like that. But it took me a long time to kind of realize calmness, everything's going to be okay. Patience is more anything else is all right. let's see how this plays out. I can see where this is going to go, because you can see things percolating amongst people and stuff like that once you get to know them and how they're going to react. You can imagine how it's going. It's basically, I've always been a thinker, about a planner, and looking ahead to see what the different steps are around, even for just everything, just people I'm interacting with at the store, things like that. So it's trying to anticipate where the problems are going to be, so that I can either prevent it or cut it off, or, before it starts, or something like that. Is just been one of my survival techniques as a young person growing up, of how to deal with wacky situations and getting out of it, which served me well over these 56 years. So.
Right. Yeah, I think, Enzo, you're probably like me, where like if you see, I can always see a fight brewing or something. Like once I went with Dikey, Susie, to Westgate, and I could see this group of people, and I was like, oh, I started walking the other way, because before anybody started fighting, because I could just see their energy. I was like, they're gonna fight, and I don't know. People have guns, and so they did start fighting, and everybody else ran towards the fight, and I was like, what are you doing? I was running the opposite way. Dikey and her sisters were like, where'd Jara go? I was way on the other side of the thing, and they were way, they couldn't even see me.
That was your intuition working really good for you, and everybody has intuition. So that was your intuition working really good for you, and everybody should listen to your intuition when you get those feelings, because that's what it's there for. That's what God gave us, intuition, to keep us safe.
Exactly.
Right.
A lot of people ignore it. A lot of people just oh, I'm just crazy or something like that. But no, you gotta pay attention to it.
Which to be
so
fair,
when I say judgment free, I'm
what happened?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, when you say trust your instincts, and hello, am I here?
Sorry, there's a delay. Yeah, she's on the.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was me or you guys, because I did have a problem the other day. But I was going to say, if you had, you mentioned, trusting your instincts, and we've kind of been told that, again, to circle back to, the no judgment zone, is seeing when there's trouble brewing somewhere amongst a group of strangers out there, and you're trying to figure out, okay, good guys, bad guys, am I in danger, things like that, where you're told, no, that person that you think is going to cause a problem could be a science teacher, and not the obvious hoodlum that is going to kill everyone in the store, kind of a thing, which is what your head's telling you and stuff like that. And people have certainly gotten injured over that by not trusting their instincts, just those basic survival instincts of, that guy's a problem.
Right.
But I can't say because he looks a certain way or acts a certain way, because we're told now that you have to be accepting, and no, that guy's going to be a problem and hurt a lot of people. So that kind of thing. So what do? You're stuck in that. And I feel like that's kind of where we are socially right now, is, all right, this isn't exactly working out.
Well, that's where when I said earlier before we came on, I was like, what do you define as judgment? Because, would that be judgment, or would you be being wise there in listening to your gut?
Right.
It's not your fault.
And there's,
what was that?
Discernment. There's discernment and judgment. They're two different things, but can fall in the same kind of way, because you use your discernment to keep you safe. But judgment is I don't know. You're right, Jara. There's a lot of things you could say about judgment, because it could be the opinions of others, or it could be it could be helpful. So in some way.
Right.
Yeah. Am I having there's a really bad storm right now outside, and I think that it's messing with my
internet. Is there? That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Williams was a place I was researching today too, actually. Yeah. So because if you're doing something that like say you get a bad feeling about somebody or whatever, and you're listening to your intuition, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're judging anybody. Just because the world classifies things like that all the time doesn't mean that's what you're doing. So just remember that too. Especially if you're just changing your own behavior, it doesn't really matter that you're changing your own behavior because you're not hurting anybody else. So just listen to your gut there always, especially lately and now, like in this day and age. I just very, very much want to stress to people, listen to your gut. Don't think that things won't happen or can't happen just because they haven't before, since we've been around alive or whatever. Just people are getting really dumb in nature. They're getting really dumb, and they're laying next to giant animals, and they're standing next to like volcanoes erupting, trying to get it on film or whatever. And it's
this
like,
bear's so cute. I'm gonna take this picture with him.
yeah, there's people that are jumping on whales and laying next to seals, and it's like, what is going on right now? People are, just that. Yeah.
Watched any nature shows? Come on.
Right. So, judging, telling somebody that's going to jump on a seal, hey, you shouldn't do that, is probably not being judgmental. You're just looking out for their safety, because there is something to this world getting kind of where people, they don't want to say anything to anybody. So all this stuff is just okay. And it's like weird. Like I already knew the Olympic ceremony was going to be like that. I was telling everybody it was going to be like that because Olympic ceremonies are like that. But this time was really bad. And I was like, whoa. Now, am I being judgy when I say that ceremony looked pretty, like, I don't know, a little bit dark, a little bit weird? Is that judgy, or is that
a little bit weird?
That was disgusting, filthy, dirty.
Yeah, we have to all, like,
you're having children up there with, male body parts being exposed. You don't have to be religious to know that that's not right. It's morally not right.
Well, anything that's weird is slightly, when it gets to the point where, like, what's happening is worse than judgment. It's like, you know what I mean? Like where the things that are happening, so some of the things that are happening in the world, it's like really so weird that it's like, how are we all watching a ceremony on TV where there's like what it looks like blood shooting out of the windows? How is everybody like all like, yeah,
how is that okay?
Even have to do with sports, people. What is that?
Or the transgender man who was allowed to.
Well, we don't.
Right. Like that's another example. People don't want to say anything. I do. I'll say it all day, and it offends you. Good. Wear a helmet. Life is tough. That's why you have to know who you are, because you know that you are your own source of validation. I don't need you. I could care less about your approval because I know who I am, and I decide my value and what I think about myself. And if everybody had that, then guess what? Ooh, we may all be able to have debates together, actually. As long as they're respectful, it's okay to disagree. Right. It's okay. In fact, we need it. That's how we keep things, transparent. If there's anything that we need to improve, we should all be allowed to share our opinions and differ and have a healthy debate. But people and I
don't want to bring up like sexuality or anything, but like with the violence, I don't know if there's like, are we supposed to be judgment-free about the way that everything, all the violence that's depicted? Like, why does everything have to be bloody? And why do we have to, if we're going to talk about different countries and the history of countries to showcase something like at the Olympics, why are we focusing on things that talk about how we killed each other? And like, it'd be cool if it could be a judgment-free zone, but the way that people wanted to express themselves wasn't just to highlight, like if people didn't have to highlight things that are so strange, that would be great. Because I don't know, like, again, I think we have to look at our judgment. Is it okay to glorify violence like that to kids? Or should we probably not be doing that?
No, it's not okay. Absolutely not.
Yeah.
No. And it's not okay to, to be propagating someone's ideology into our schools, right? You're going to leave our kids alone. I'm not being judgmental, and I really don't care what you think. I don't want this filth being taught to my child, you know? And I think that that's more than okay. And I'm definitely going to be very vocal about that, you know, and that's okay. I think that, you know,
there's a lot of things that are taught in our schools that are different than what should be taught, whatever, but
right.
Yeah, I think, we all know what I'm talking about. I can really go off on a tangent in that.
Yeah.
Well,
it's okay. You can go on a tangent if you'd like, because this is a judgment-free zone.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, it works. There's two sides of that coin. Exactly. Now I'm gonna speak my mind too, right? Just like, you know, and honestly, that's why we're here, right? That's why we are living this dystopian nightmares, because people just are too cowardly to speak the truth. Or to say, you know what? No, I'm actually not going to be medically raped. I will not be forced to take a vaccine. I will not wear that ineffective face diaper over. Yeah, and I'm going to say it. And if it bothers you, good. I hope I do offend you, because you've offended me for the last 4 years. Like, I think that that's okay, you know?
And it's, believe me, because I agree with you, Jennifer, on all of it. And the thing is we've gotten socially, and mostly because of this side of social activity, is kind of put a lot of people, quieting down a lot of people, because they don't want to deal with all the pushback.
Right.
Because immediately, for everything that you just said, there's going to be a wall of text on social media saying that you're wrong, you're oppressing these people, or you're trying to kill everyone. You know, all these things from your bad decisions and all that, which is ridiculous, especially, you know, looking back at all of that. But a lot of people have just been quiet. It's like, all right, whatever, do whatever you want, as long as it's between consenting adults. Wait a minute, it's not. You know, then it turns into, now it's part of my problem, if you're going to go that route, that kind of thing.
100%.
But a lot of people have kind of reached that point the last several months, especially, where it's like, enough. I can't take it anymore.
Right.
Like, seeing this giant pushback against stuff that has just been bulldozing, and things that we know are socially unacceptable, but we weren't given really that voice to say, hey, maybe not do this, maybe not say, this is the line, don't go past that line.
Right.
For some people, there is no line, and they will run past that line as far as they can until they're forced to stop, kind of thing. But if you do anything, you're oppressing them.
And then they can rant all they want. And, oh my God, you know, there's a lot of hypocrisy. There's just a lot of cowardice. It comes down to people having all the excuses. Well, that you're a coward and you didn't want to speak out, and that's fine. That's okay. But admit it, because if you don't, you're going to do it again. And we're going to end up here continuing to do that. At what point do we
argument that
each individual accept their part in that?
You know what I wonder, because I know that they haven't had time to change it, right? I'm just wondering what they're going to do at the closing ceremony. Because they already have it put together. So, like, they can't change that. There's no way they could change it. So they're going to do it. Could you imagine, like, the director guy, he's probably like, oh, shit. Oh my God, like, I can't believe I got to go ahead and put this on. Oh God. I'm just curious to see what it's going to be. It'll be fun to pick that apart.
No, it's just people feeling scared. And so, you know, they have an excuse. Oh, well, I didn't speak up, or I went ahead and I got it because of all these reasons. And, you know, at the end of the day, that's what they want. They want people tired. They want people just distracted and all of these things.
Well, some of us that got vaccines learned our lesson, and we won't get a vaccine ever again. So there's a lot of people that learn their lesson.
I can have compassion for you people all day when you have that mindset. It's the ones that, you know, like, there's nothing to see here, and then they would do it again. It's like, I don't want to be around and live around people who are less than smart.
Right.
Like,
I think I know what you're saying.
But I would never. push my stuff on other people though
Exactly.
either. So.
But that wasn't the case for the unvaccinated. It wasn't. It was I hope you die. How dare you? You're selfish. And that's why I escaped California, was because I was assaulted on the daily every time I went to a grocery store. And I refused. I just wouldn't do it. I'm surprised I'm not on YouTube. I'm not viral yet, because I've had many instances where I shut down. Who knows? I hope I'd put it up proud. The shit. That I was, definitely shut down many a grocery store with pride. I've had people, I'm not going to ring you up. Excellent. I get free groceries. Oh yeah. It just people.
It's California anyways. What's the amount you can walk out of the store with? It's like $600.
Yeah. What are you going to do anyway? Call the police that you want to defund? Ooh, I'm scared. And then it just to show you the level of stupid, I ended up buying. It cost me $10, the best $10 I ever spent. It was one of those fake mask medical exemption cards. Oh, I wish I had it with me. And it looked all, legit, like it had the red writing, medical exemption. And so people go, you're not wearing your mask. And I would just have fun instead of saying, F you. Typically what I would do is I said, oh, I have a very acute case of CFS. And I would show them the card. They'd be like, okay, I'm like, idiot. And then sometimes, well, what does CFS stand for?
Cystic fibrosis.
Oh, that's what it stands for, is common sense. And I have such a big case of it that I just couldn't wear the muzzle, right? You understand. So here's my fake card, because you're stupid enough to believe everything. So you'll believe this. And they do, okay, But
that's funny.
Yeah. So it's like, there's the hypocrisy of that radical left is that, how dare you say this? But again, if you don't do what I think you should do, I'm going to attack you in every single way. So I got a lot of that, oh my God, or, you're not vaccinated, but you are though, right? So you're cool, right? You're shielded.
That's
if you're
right.
vaccinated. So why are you tripping if I don't?
You're saving lives.
Right, exactly. Or if I, again, I wouldn't wear the mask. I'm like, no. I'm fine. If you're scared, you can go ahead and stay home and Instacart. I'm not. I'm going to do what I've been continuing to do. And I'm not asking you. And I really don't care about your opinion. And I'm going to do it anyway. There was a lot of lack of just anyone with a spine, especially where I live. Nobody would say anything. It's I wanted to bend over and take it. And I'm just not built like that. I refuse. And it just, after the years, it got to the point where it was just not, it was not good for my mental health. And I ended up making a decision, and I moved, best decision. I moved here, and I got a life coach. That helped me a lot deal with.
I think this is why Jen is such a great coach, because right now it's really important for people to stand in their power, to stand their ground. And it's really important for people to make their own decisions. And it's really important for people to break free from everything. It's really important. That's why I think it's really important to empower ourselves. So
that's right.
That's the kind of coaching people are going to need right now.
They really are.
Power back.
Exactly, Suzanne. And that's why it's like, I'm not, and Jara and I really had a great conversation. It's not that I'm not compassionate. Oh, no, I am. I'm very compassionate. I'm a woman. I know all about emotions, but it's for a purpose, right? It's not to have these emotions and go, oh, poor me, so I can stay the victim and circle the drain in my life. It's for, oh my gosh, let me identify. I can bring up to the surface what's really going on, right? You can't deal with what you don't know you have. And so, okay, I'm going to identify it so I can now transform it. I can integrate it so I could go this way up, right? That's why. So I think that's the really important part of it, is why identifying your emotions and all that. Again, it's not like little victim. No. What are you going to do about it? When would now be a good time to be empowered and go towards the decision? And there is a balance. Sure. I know it's a balance of being able to have that time to process the emotions. Absolutely.
So do you think, how do you meet people? Like if you meet somebody that challenges the way that you feel or challenges you like that, how do you try to meet them where they're at? Or do you just not even communicate? Do you try, would you try to meet like somebody that opposes you where they're at? to see, because maybe you might be able to make them see things differently if you can meet them where they're at.
I do. Yeah, I do a lot. I absolutely, they see, because even though it's tough, it's real. And they're like, yeah. And I give them the solution. Like, okay, well, you know, it is important to start off with just being, I think, empathetic and compassionate. You know, it's always a good idea, whether you're in a relationship, friendship, that when someone's expressing to you their emotions, that it is met with warmth, curiosity, empathy, and understanding. You know, I think that's all great, but for the purpose, right, of let's get to the root. I'm not interested in being a victim and circling the drain and, oh, poor me, that gets you nowhere. So I'm not the person for you. And I will give you a really good dose of tough love. 100. I'm great at that too, you know, but it's for love. It's that, hey, look, you know, it comes down to you making a decision with yourself. And, you know, I may not have all the answers. Who does? But be willing to do the work, to do what it takes to figure that out. And it's two things. It's knowledge, gaining knowledge, and love of self.
Right.
When you're making, you know, because that's the problem, is we're all running around operating from our wounding and our lack of self-love. That's really the problem. So now that the flip to that is, okay, let me gain knowledge.
Need to heal
Let me
that.
read. What was that?
I was going to say, I was actually thinking about it, and somebody yelling at you for not wearing.
There's a delay, so it's hard to.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, somebody yelling at you for not wearing a mask.
Oh, they got
thinking about it. It's like, why did they go somewhere? Like, if they were that worried about it, why didn't they just stay home?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my response was, I was not one to shrink. I can tell you that. They came at me at a level 5. I came out at a level 10, and they didn't do that again. I could assure you that. So again, people are, Jen, that was great. Yeah, it was. It's the only way I know. But again, it does take a toll, right? To be in that anger all the time.
Right.
And it made me literally, I hate people. That's not healthy. I logically know that. That's not healthy to have that belief. But I was there. And so it just made sense. And thank God that I just moved. I got out of, you know, the armpit of California, specifically anywhere near the Bay Area, you know, and that's where I lived. You know, it was horrible. It was like, I felt like a main character in a horror movie, you know, when they're like, hey, the killer's outside, don't go out there, shut up. And then they go out, and then you hear the music, and what do you think happens? You know?
It's
so yeah,
I've heard that story many times from many different people that escaped California specifically because of that. And I applaud you for it. And
thank you.
And you probably know this now, now that it's all over, but there were a lot, basically, once you got away from the big cities, nobody wore their masks or did any of that stuff. I live in Kansas. Once you go a little outside of, like, I live near Wichita, and once you got a little ways outside of that, nobody wore their masks or did any of that crap. Because I mean, the guy running the small mom and pop grocery store would much rather their store be open and customers coming in without a mask than telling people to do stuff for what? There's not like somebody's going to turn them in, or some state inspector is going to be going by saying, hey, you're not telling people to put. No, we didn't do any of that crap.
Yeah. Oh God, I wish. Yeah, it was really, really bad. In fact, the county I lived was always the first one to implement the mask mandate. It was very, very, like, just really liberal, really far out, and just
yikes.
In a sense, just wasn't what they were interested in, clearly, you know. So.
I hope it doesn't get like that if they try to do that, like all that stuff, like where you have it digitally or whatever. Because if I can't do I can't do that. I'm not doing that.
But that's what happens when people are, you know, they act like cowards, right? I'm tired, or there's always an excuse, right? It's always an excuse why not. But, you know, if you look at the common denominator of successful people, is they don't have excuses. They just don't exist. When someone wants something bad enough, they'll move mountains. If not, they'll hide behind one.
The best way that we can, like, change that though and make it to where maybe stuff doesn't have to be like that is if we try to stick together. So we gotta, even if we are clashing, we gotta use our superpowers that we're learning to stay together. Because the only thing that we have is each other. Like, for realsies. We need each other to have a community. Like if stuff starts to get weird and they start making all kinds of weird laws, a community of very self-aware people that are calm and have clear intentions. Empowered people is what's going to take. To literally just ignore what they're telling us to do and do the opposite.
Well,
do the opposite, everybody.
Some people that fall into the victim mentality, it's because they don't know how to do it any other way. So that's why it's important to like be able to show them, like coach them, so they understand that there's a different way to do things.
Right. That's right. There is always a different way to do things. And it just comes down to the decision you make with yourself. You want to be a victim, or do you want to be empowered? You want to try something new. It's not about being perfect, right? But it's about being committed to yourself.
I think too that as the image of what a lot of people thought the world is starts to crumble, people are going to start realizing that stuff isn't the way they thought it was, and they're not going to be so apt to listen to like instructions that come from certain places, from people that can't be trusted, that have no like record of actually, telling the truth or.
And a lot of people are kind of waking up that the TV box doesn't always tell you the truth. Actually, from during the lockdowns and the COVID times, because probably for the first time ever, a lot of people actually watched the news like every day when it first started up, trying to figure out what's happening, what's going on. For the first time ever, they watched like a live news conference from the White House. And then they would tune into like their regular news later that day to see if there'd be any changes. And they'd see them referring back to that very same press conference from the White House that they watched. And they display it in a totally different way. It's like, wait a minute, I watched it. That's not what he said. Or that's totally out of context what he said. What are they talking about? Yes, the news lies to you a lot.
Yeah. Right.
Welcome to the party, pal.
Right. I remember I was watching once and it was like CNN and it had two anchors on there. Right. And they had like split screen and like you thought one was on location, one somewhere, and the other one was on location somewhere else. And something happened and they were like in the same place. They were just like made it look, they were like in two different parts of the parking lot or whatever. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, that is so dumb. Why do they do that?
But peaceful protests, everybody.
Right. But, I was like,
Susie's in the chat. She said the thunderstorms knocked out her connection there.
Oh, wow. Oh, no. Okay. Darn. Well, she probably has she's the hostess, everybody. So she does all the fancy, important stuff. I have no idea how to do any of that. So there will be no song at the end. Susie, try to come back. Yeah, see, I'm not good at that part. And so she'll have to teach you how to do that so you can do that on our end if we ever lose her again. But no, I think that as everything starts to, at least for me, like I don't really trust anything that comes out of the TV or anything. And I try not to judge anything because everything is always these days not what I thought it was or not what it looked like or it's just completely, totally, utterly different. It's like, whoa, I thought there was a cat under there and that's a pickle. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. I think that being here for each other and being able to talk and do things without having judgment and without getting upset is super, super important. And Jen, I want to have you with me if anything does go down and we ever have to run or I need somebody to be my bodyguard.
It's going to drop an elbow on somebody.
Right.
You guys have no idea. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Because I need somebody like that. That's the only way that I survived high school.
Right. Oh.
Hi, Susan.
Hi, guys. Hey. There's a big storm. Can you guys hear me?
Are you on your phone?
Yeah, I'm on my phone now.
Okay. I told them everybody that I don't do all the fancy stuff, so I can't be the one to like make a song at the end or anything. So I don't know how to do all that. Sorry to disappoint. I can do a little dance for everybody. I can get my chair.
Did you guys hear that?
Yeah.
That lightning?
Good storm.
Thunder?
Yeah.
It's a bad one.
Go take your phone over there, see if we can see the lightning.
It's pretty dark.
See the light? Oh.
I hear it.
Well, lightning is light, at least when it.
All we can see is the
Just
reflection of the screen.
Oh
you
yeah.
see that?
Oh yeah. Yeah, we can see your phone.
The water hitting the window.
Oh, you can see the reflection of my phone?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So it probably won't work. Yeah, it won't
It's fine.
No worries. Well, that's cool that you're getting rain.
Yep.
It smells good
Can
up
you
there
see the
when it
pool right
rains.
there?
Oh, I can see the water on the window.
Ooh, dude, I'm
yeah.
afraid to stand right here.
Yeah, you should probably not be too close to the window.
I don't know.
Also,
I saw a
don't
movie
be
one time.
close to any pipes or don't
Someone
take a
was
shower
out.
right now. Don't take a
You're not
shower
supposed
right
to.
now. Yep.
I'm going to laugh at you in Kansan about being afraid of lighting.
Does
So,
anybody know if it can come through the windows?
Lightning?
Yeah.
I don't see why it
in my
couldn't.
experience, kind of does whatever the hell it wants.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't see why it
Chances are
can't.
pretty good. As long as there's something taller than you nearby, it's going to hit that. The reason why they tell you not to stand near windows during like a big storm is mostly from hail or wind.
Right.
If
Right.
if the wind throws like a tree limb or something like that against the window, or hail is so big that it would shatter the window, you wouldn't want to be next to it. Lightning itself, it's going to hit the roof of whatever building you're on before it would ever think to try and, unless you've been really bad and someone's trying to send you a message.
I know, right?
That's probably not going to happen from the lighting itself.
Can't you get struck like if you're on the phone or something, or like taking a
if you're on
shower?
the old school wired phone, you could certainly get shocked, but not from a
And
cell.
then lightning also comes out of the ground, so sometimes there's a lead. I don't know if it would come out of the ground up into your house though, so I think it'll.
That's scary.
Well, it's like a lead. It's like a little lead thingy that comes up.
Right. If you get a buildup of positive, negative ions, that's where it goes through. If it happens to be under your house, you may have like faulty ground wires or something like that in your house that would leave it charged, which that would happen pretty soon. It's not really something that would happen just suddenly after many years of living in a house or anything like that.
You know what's weird to me, guys? So every summer here in Levine, we don't get very good cold water, right, in the summer. So I'm figuring they probably didn't bury our cold water pipes very deep or something. Our cold water pipes very deep or something. But this summer, it's so bad that like I can hardly stand to take a shower, like at all, because even if I turn it to it's on cold, it comes out hot.
Wow.
Is that weird? I'm all wise as brown, not hot.
How hot has it been down there?
Like
I mean, it's
119?
it's been the same hotness as normal, but like, I don't know. It just seems like when you can't even, like, I can barely stand to take a shower. It hurts.
Right.
It's hot.
There's no getting any cool water whatsoever.
And so I just know it feels, I don't know if it's me being older or if it just feels hotter, or if it's actually hotter than what it usually is. And then if it is hotter, I'm wondering why, because my pipes haven't moved. So, and if the temperature is not hotter outside, then why is it hotter? I'm all, what's under there? We live on a volcano. I keep remembering that.
Just steam coming out of the cold water.
Right. There's like, so I'm on a hot water spring or something, underground spring. So is Nikki there with you, and or is she in Flagstaff, Susie? Is she frozen?
Frozen. Or she either frozen or just deeply in thought.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, deeply thinking about that. She's like, I'm not sure.
Highly disappointed in the direction the show has gone.
That was a great show. That was an awesome show.
You know what I think
she's very frozen.
For like the next shows to kind of do part 2, but like what are examples of being able to implement the compassion, no judgment with the self-empowering kind of tough love response.
Yeah, that would be good.
No, because like I could give examples of how Suzanne is perfect at that too. And how
Right.
she did that with me. You know, again,
Right.
you know, she was compassionate and very nice, but it was always with the purpose of,
Right.
you want to be intentional with it, I guess is my point. Like going back to your emotions. Oh, you need to feel your emotions. Yeah. But for the
Right.
purpose to identify and move up, not being the
Right.
the wounded
Stuck in a
victim
whirlpool.
circling the drain. I'm not, it doesn't work for me either. And I really don't have a lot of patience for it
Right.
because it becomes depleting on me.
Right.
And I thought that I've had to cut friendships off because of that. You know, they
Right.
just participate.
Unfortunately, that's true. I have as well, where someone just gets so wound up in it. You know, you hate to do it, but you know, again, like the drowning metaphor, where they're just going to drag you down with them.
Exactly. And that's not going to happen. So,
well, and there's people that want to be helped and are ready to do something to help themselves too, that you want to spend your time with.
100%. I would rather put my energy towards that, you know, and yeah, absolutely. And it's okay.
You know who, like,
but we have the tools to get back up. Right. So
they should make like politicians they have to have like a coach like Susie. Like that should be a requirement.
yeah.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. We just got to fix all the people that are making the laws.
Great comment about politics and stuff like that, and AI, where if they can develop an AI that you could have on your computer that could detect lies. So if a politician's telling you some tall tale, it's going to immediately flag it as this person is lying, kind of a thing. It's like,
right.
Then you would start seeing legislation against AI, I think is probably how that would work.
You would, for sure. But the funny thing is I feel like I'm already like that AI. I can tell they're lying all the time. And like, I think everybody else can too.
Yeah.
So it's like, really, it's ridiculous. It's almost to the point where like, I can't believe they're still telling us stupid stuff. Like they must really think that we're dumb, but then we don't ever say anything. So
exactly.
Yeah. We don't ever say anything.
You know, Jara, a classic example of that. You remember with the women's swim meet and you had that man, you know, with the mental illness go and strip the women, and everyone wants to, him. And then the school, nah, where were all you women? Why weren't you there kicking his dick off the podium and saying the hell with you? No, you're allowing it. So do I feel sorry for you? See, that's the whole point. That's where I can sound like, I'm not compassionate. I am. I'm trying to get to the root of the problem, which is you got to stick up for yourself. You can't expect an organization to do it for you. Look at them. They're all corrupt. All the women should have said F you and united and say, no, I will never compete with a man.
Well, sometimes people, they don't feel like there's going to be a change. So I would say in a case where something like that, if you're doing something and something like that were to happen and it makes it out of alignment with who you are, rather than expecting everybody to make the same choice as you just have to stand loudly and do what you want to do for you. And so like, if it's something that is not right for you, then, for me, like if there was anything that made me go against what I believe, I would just back out myself of the competition if it was that serious. But it's hard to expect everybody to make that same stand, because some people simply just don't care they only care about getting a medal and that's whatever.
Go ahead and do another man. I don't feel sorry for you. It's the same concept when, like I'll give it, a woman keeps going back to an abusive, a horrible relationship. It's like you sit there and say, I hate clowns, but yet you're the one buying front row tickets to the circus. The question is, why is he so mean? What? No, that ain't the question. The question is, why are you attracted to him? Why do you keep going back? That's the only question that's really relevant, because you can't wait on someone else to change. And if you know who you are, you know that all relationships are just a reflection of you anyway. You're the one that attracted that experience to you. So again, I use that example, it's stop asking why are they, because you're right. You can't wait for anyone else to act right or to bring you happiness, but you can sure as hell remove your presence from any situation that isn't bringing you respect. And that's my point. where my tough love kind of would come in, you know, in that situation where
Wow.
there, but I was using an example of a woman who's like, oh, boo-hoo, my boyfriend's so mean, he's so this, and why is he like that? I'm like, no, that's not the question you should ask. Why do you keep entertaining him? Why haven't you broken up with him? That's the only question. That's the only relevant question. Why do you hate yourself so much that you would tolerate that kind of behavior? Because that's the truth of it. I'm not being compassionate. I'm being very loving.
You know, some people do hate them.
Yeah. So that's the whole point of asking these questions and kind of having that tough love, because we get to another layer, right? Oh, you do hate yourself. Why do you hate yourself? Where did you pick that up when you were a child? Because that's where it comes from, trauma, usually childhood stuff. You know, let's get, ooh, I see that. But that's when you need to get curious about everything and dig so you can integrate and transform instead of just being a victim.
Yeah.
You know, because people want to hide behind, oh, but it's because, and I'm the other way. But still you can. Still you can. That's why I'll always pivot them right back.
Right. You're the one that can change it.
That's exactly right. You're the only one who can change it. So, you know, yeah, let's get out your emotions. Of course it's sad to feel the way. Of course. Okay. We ready now? Are we ready to get focused? Are we ready to take accountability?
Right.
That's the only way that it's going to solve anything.
Because it's okay to honor your emotions. If you're sad, don't repress it, feel it. But you do have to lean towards growing and, you know, lean towards moving out of that situation.
That's right. That's right. And it's not in victim. I can tell you that it's not in your excuses that we make. No. It's in a decision. It's gaining knowledge.
Right. It's a choice. It's a choice. You have to choose yourself.
Everything is a choice.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. Jara, I don't want it to like die again on me, but I want to know what the weird stuff you have to show us today. Did you have anything?
I was just talking to Enzo about the World Fair, the World Fairs, and how strange they are to me. Because of the time they happened in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and the amount of money that they spent. And it's like we just had a civil war, yeah, they say anyway, or whatever. So I don't know where, like, yeah, well, I know there was a civil war, but it's all the buildings that they put up at these fairs were like supposedly temporary buildings, except for a couple of them that still stand today. But supposedly they tore all of them down. And some of the things that they did, like they put people on display at so they were expositions, right? So it was not a fair like where you ride rides and stuff. You would go and you would look at things. So there would be like inventions there or whatever, like the Eiffel Tower that was built for the World Fair. The Seattle Space Needle was built for the World Fair. But they had, at some of these World Fairs, they had people. They brought people, like indigenous people, to the fair and put them in a display. And I'm like, okay, this is so weird.
I mean,
that's just
there's a way I could sort of see where that might work. Like if they, if they're just sitting in the front and kind of, having a conversation. This is what life is like for us, kind of a thing, and an educational, give and take kind of a thing. Because if they're coming from some remote part of the world in the 1800s, that would actually be very educational. But if they're literally sitting there like some kind of sideshow exhibit,
yeah, that's how it was.
Savages or whatever words they were using probably back then.
That's how it was. They had, in fact, it said that they had the Apache chief Geronimo he was in they had him displayed at one of the exhibits.
Their faces off at any moment.
yeah, and
I'm shocked that he did it.
Right.
He looks in the picture. He looks older. So I'm thinking that. But they had children. They had at one of them they had incubators, and so they had preterm babies in the incubators. And it said because of the inconsistency in the sanitizing of things, some babies died. And I'm like, Okay, so where'd they get the babies though? Because what they say, what they do, were they like, ma'am, congratulations. I know that your premature baby was born early in 1904 or whatever, but can I take it and put it in a case at the fair? Like what? Like what? Where'd they get the babies? That's what I want to know. And the indigenous, they brought some people during a deal or something that they got control of Guam, the Philippines, Costa Rica, and not Guam, the Philippines, Puerto Rico, and somewhere else. And they brought indigenous people from the Philippines over and put them on display. And some people from the Apache tribe from the Southwest, they put on display. And so I'm pretty sure they probably weren't willing to go do that. I don't know.
Apaches
Did they get
oh yeah, you're going to be the star of the show. Everyone's going to come from all over the world just to see you.
Right.
Not realizing that it was more of a zoo exhibit than a meet and greet.
Right. Yeah, it's very strange how much money all these fairs cost, but they're all supposedly temporary, and all of them lasted 6 months, right? So how do you put up that much temporary building and then not have what about fire codes and health hazards? And then you have a whole bunch, you have millions of people.
Nah.
Right. But these buildings didn't look very temporary, and they were very, very fantastic looking, way more complex than architecture we have around today. And somehow they lit them too. And there wasn't electricity when they lit them.
Was this from that documentary that you were showing?
Yeah, but I actually went and I did all the research on the world fairs. That's what I was supposed to be doing my real estate class, and I accidentally got stuck. So I started to build a slideshow. So I saved the PDFs and everything from the one in St. Louis and the one in Philadelphia and the one in Omaha, Nebraska. That one's baffling to me because it's Omaha, Nebraska. And they built a lagoon, and it was on water. And so then I went to Google Earth, and I was looking at these places where, in St. Louis, the only building that stands that is still the building or still there to this day is where is it? It is it's on Washington University campus in St. Louis. It's it starts with the B. I can't find it. So there's one building that's left. So I was just looking at Google Earth to see what stuff looked like, and you can't tell that there was anything crazy there. But yeah, there's pictures of all of them. Wikipedia lists them all in order. There's some planned for the future. So they've got one planned, I think, for 2025. I think it's in Saudi Arabia or somewhere over there.
Have they been still having those?
They did. They had them until they had one in 2015, but they're not anything like what they were back then. Nothing, not even close. They're now they're just a fair, a regular, a fair that you'd go to where it's not anything like how it was. The Chicago one was the Columbian Exposition, and that was done in 1893. That one was huge, and it was all on water, and the whole city was white. And yeah, they don't do them like that anymore. So
no, I don't feel like you're going to get a corn dog over in the Saudi Arabia fair.
Yeah, no, probably not. And I don't even know, what kind of. I mean, the buildings that they had were just massive, acres for one building. That's insane.
Yeah,
I can't even imagine a building that big.
Right. For a temporary building, they were really extravagant with brick and everything. You know what I mean?
They say it wasn't real. They say it was made out of staff, so it looked like that staff can be made to look like any stone. It's just, and they said it was made out of strips of wood. Most of the buildings were made from strips of wood and staff. So supposedly they wireframed it and then taped some strips of wood to it and then plastered over it with that staff stuff. And it looked all like that. And they did it very quickly. for with
Like a movie
lot
set.
of yeah. And then some of these buildings, they say, have been relocated. So they took them down and then put them up somewhere else. Not that like there was a similar building built it somewhere else and they just said it was, but how do you relocate a building like that? Like, how do you do that exactly? I understand if it's a zipper at the fair, but like a building with pillars and columns and statues and moats and lagoons and gondolas, and like there was an actual Viking guy who actually like gondoled his Viking ship all the way to the World Fair, and then it was left there.
Viking ship.
Yeah, I know.
Two different things. Yeah.
That's how I talk sometimes.
I love it. No, that's awesome. That's a good place to stop. So thank you, everybody. Thank you guys for joining me tonight. And does anybody have anything else they want to say or add in before we say bye?
I gave my daughter a driving lesson the other day, and I was like, so when you want to go that way, you got to go the other way. And and I was like, and she was like, no. So, yeah. So I do that when I'm giving driving lessons also.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, guys, I hope you guys have a really great rest of your week and a great weekend. And if you're new here, please like and subscribe and tell all your friends. And thank you for joining us. And that's it, guys. See you later.
Have a good night.